Hi, Kibriya, can you hear me?
Hello, Hafsa.
How
Thank
are
you.
you?
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
no
joining so
problem.
early.
Finally, we meet. Hi, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough because that's the first question everybody asks on Google Meet or Zoom. That's the standard question.
Yeah. So, Hafsa, let's wait for a couple of minutes because
Yeah,
participants
sure.
they join
Perfect.
around 6:05. Then we will formally start. But yeah, I
Yeah,
know
sure.
you look fresh.
Yeah, I haven't really slept. I'm
You
too
look fresh
excited
for
about
the
this
time
webinar.
it is.
No problem. Yeah, inshallah. I'm excited to talk to all of you.
Yeah, but this time not 6 a.m. your
Uh,
time.
don't worry about it.
Yeah. If you want to share your screen, you can share your screen. Meanwhile, we can get these things sorted.
Um, it's okay if you want me to start. I can.
Yeah, we can. Obviously, we do not
Yeah,
have
people can
to
hop
sit
in.
silent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. This is Hafsa Shoresh. I am your, speaker for today's webinar. I would love to keep this session super interactive. It's not academic. It's very practical. It's more about me just telling stories to you guys, and then at the end we all learn together. So, first of all, I would really appreciate if you could drop it in the chat. Where are you joining in from? Which city of Pakistan? So I would really appreciate that. So I want the chat to be buzzing and the reactions to go crazy because I don't like a dead audience. I want to keep it, super interactive. Oh wow, we have somebody from Chitral, Islamabad, Lahore, Chishtiyan, Lahore. Go Lahore. I was born and raised in Lahore, so I love Lahore. I'm biased. We have somebody from USA as well, Islamabad, Rawalpindi. I don't know why am I sounding like an RJ, but yeah, I'm just too excited for this session. We have people from Karachi joining in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So see, we have such a huge and diverse audience at the moment, and this is like I think, truly a moment to celebrate that we're all together thanks to these technologies that we are, sitting together, in different parts of the continent and the world. So we have somebody from Sheikhupura. Who was the one before Sheikhupura? Tala Gang. That's an interesting name.
Talagang. Yeah, yeah.
Talagang,
Talagang.
very, very gutsy name. I like it. I've heard it for the first time, but I like it. So a little bit about me till people join in, and then we're just gonna dive into the presentation. Again, this is being recorded, so you don't need to jot down anything. Just relax, listen to the session. There's tons of information already out there. You have been listening to people with, great minds and lots of academic backgrounds. But I just wanted to come here and talk to all of you as a professional who has been in the industry for like more than 8 9 years. And I'm somebody, I don't like to give like long introductions, but I'm somebody who has literally navigated her way into this data analytics industry because jaise kehte hain, is it okay if I go bilingual or do you want me to keep it strictly English?
No, no, go
That's fine.
bilingual.
Okay,
Definitely.
so
I think
मैं
for the
उर्दू में भी
audience
बात कर
that we have.
सकती हूँ,
Yeah.
अंग्रेजी में बात कर सकती हूँ, जिस भी ज़ुबान में बात करें, बात क्लियर करनी चाहिए। ठीक है जी। तो मुझे पर्सनली ये टॉपिक भी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है और एक और चीज़ कि why do I encourage people from different backgrounds to attend it? Because this is just not related to CS majors or people with engineering backgrounds, people with, a particular mindset. ये ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. I am the person who's the school of thought कि everybody is analyzing all the time, all of us. So it's just like our sixth sense. ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. आप किसी से बात भी करते हैं, first time you're analyzing them, you're analyzing between different colors, you're analyzing on road. So it's just like we are maybe not trained to use this skill as a power, but it's everywhere. It's very common. I think the kind of people we are, जो हमारे कुछ South Asian DNA में है, कि हम लोग जब नंबर्स की बात आती है, तो इस तरह की चीज़ों की बात आती है, तो हम उनको छोड़ के किस्मत पे चले जाते हैं। बट अदर देन दैट, आई डोंट थिंक सो कि दिस इज समथिंग लाइक यू कैन नॉट लर्न, एंड इट्स अ प्रीटी रीसेंट phenomenon. I attended the talk yesterday with Jahangir Saab as well, and I loved what all he said. Like this AI, blockchain, Web3, data analytics, these are all these domains that are currently, like, as we are living right now, as we are in the present right now, ये change हो रही है, नए tools आ रहे हैं. So everybody and anybody can learn if you're up to date, if you're up to scale, you're attending these kind of sessions, you are going on YouTube, watching videos. So this is not something that you really think that, oh, this is like, I am not that smart or I'm not that nerdy enough to get into this field or break into this field. I think we have a good number of people, 47. So I am in California at the moment, और मेरे सुबह के 5:05 बज रहे हैं, 5:05. तो मैं इतनी ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हूँ आप लोगों के से बात करने के लिए. मैंने ना कॉफ़ी पी है, ना चाय पी है, ना पानी पी है. सिर्फ गर्म पानी है मेरे पास अभी इस टाइम. बट मुझे रोजे वाली फीलिंग आ रही है कि मैं सुबह सुबह सैरी के लिए उठ गई हूँ. बट या आई रियली वांट कि आप सब भी इतना ही इंजॉय करें. सो लेट्स डाइव इनटू द सेशन. सो द टॉपिक फॉर टुडेज सेशन इज टेलिंग स्टोरीज थ्रू डेटा. एंड आई एम श्योर सबने ये लाइन अब तक सुन चुके हैं कि जी व्हाट डज दिस मीन, और everybody is like talking about you have to tell stories through data, you should be diving into stories through data. I want to first tell you like a brief background about myself. Like, I'm not the kind of data analyst you're used to seeing or learning about, because I'm not a nerdy data engineer. You know what is a data engineer? Like a plumber for data. They make sure that the flow is smooth, the pipes are clean, and everything gets to where it's supposed to go. I'm not even a data architect who designs the blueprint for data systems, making sure that everything is built to scale and ready for the data traffic jam. So I'm not a data scientist, I'm not a data architect, I'm not even a data engineer. So you must be thinking, फिर हो कौन भाई, तो बातें क्यों कर रही हो? So I basically am a marketing data analyst. And I really, really, really think that whenever people find that out, they usually go like, oh, so this dashboard looks pretty intimidating. So I consult for various startups and enterprises. And the first time when I meet them, they're often terrified. So they have the data, they have the numbers, they have all the marketing test results in hand. And they usually, it usually goes something like this, that the dashboard says our retention is 1%. Do we need to, increase our budget on the paid growth? Do we need to spend more money on ads? Things like that. So I just tell them that think of your marketing analytics like a gas tank. मतलब पाकिस्तान में इसको पेट्रोल पंप बोलते हैं, ठीक है ना? So imagine you can fill it up only once and it should last the whole journey. So आपने सोचना है, जो मैं बातें कर रही हूँ अपने इमेजिन करनी है. पीछे मुझे पता है काफी लोग ऐसे ही रहते हैं, 10-12 और स्क्रीनें खोली होती हैं कि अच्छा चलो बोलते रहेंगे, बैकग्राउंड में हम सुनते रहेंगे. But I'm not background noise, I'm not a robot, I am not an AI chatbot, I'm a real person talking, ठीक है ना? So think of your marketing analytics like a gas tank. Imagine you can fill it up only once and it should last the whole journey. But sometimes the engine's performance drops. So as long as you have 15%, you are good. But once it hits 15%, the low fuel light comes on. So you can keep going longer, but you're risking running out of gas. So that's when you need a tune-up. अब मैं इसको आसान लफ्जों में और समझाती हूँ. So when I tell this story to people, instead of just coming in and say XYZ startup founder को, hey, आपकी सारी की सारी, एनालिटिक्स खराब है या मार्केटिंग खराब है एंड वी जस्ट नीड टू डू अ रीडू, पूरा डैशबोर्ड नया से बनाना पड़ेगा, पूरे नए टूल्स यूज करने पड़ेंगे, nobody gives a damn. But when I tell them a story that this is what is working, this is what is not working, and this is what we can improve, तो उनको क्या होता है, there's always this light bulb moment, and they try to relax a little, and they suddenly think that, oh, we don't need a full fixture, it's maybe a little tune up. So and the first thing they ask after this whole story is like, what do we need to do? We don't want to run out of gas. So this is a story that I find myself telling all the time, and the more I tell the story, the more I realize that as a marketer and as an analyst, I need to find the voice of data and let it be heard. So we are living in a time where people say needs to, like, data just speaks for itself. इस तरह की जो sweeping statements होती हैं सिर्फ सुनने में अच्छी लगती हैं, but data cannot speak for itself. I disagree with that. It doesn't really work like that in the practical world. So no matter how the significant data might be, without a story, no one is going to believe you. No one is going to be able to hear what it has to say. So we are the people, we are the, machines that has to convert all those data insights into narratives, into stories, into actionable insights, into business decisions. Yes, I'll be taking questions. Mohammed साहब आप chat में डालते जाएं. अच्छा जी. So as a so and without a story, nobody could ever uh, अगर मैं आपको स्टोरी से कुछ भी बयान ना कर सकूं ना तो यू गाइज विल नॉट बी मूव्ड यू गाइज विल नॉट make any changes in whatever you guys are doing. So that's why the topic for today is also data storytelling, and why storytelling and why communication in general is super important when you are presenting to a large audience, or when you're presenting to anyone, be it a boardroom, be it a webinar, be it on social media, be it on like a public forum or private forum, जो भी बात करनी है. So as a marketer, I can use data storytelling to solve a problem. And this is one thing that you have been hearing a lot, that, the most critical skill is solving a problem, the critical, problem solving skill. And that's like 1000% true, 1001% true. No matter what degree you have, even if you're a PhD student, if you're not able to solve a problem for a business or a startup or an enterprise, nobody's gonna, even look at your data. So as a marketer, my job is to convert that data into a story, and then that story converts into an actionable insight. Because only when we are able to convert, the data into a story, only then the product and the service moves forward, only then the growth happens, and only then the magic happens. So I think I need to switch to the 1 second. Yes, other slide. So one more thing, I want to talk about, like, how people have this notion that data is just like in Excel or in just in sheets. So I strongly believe that data does not only come in tabular forms or in Excel sheets. Data comes in many forms. It's in text, it's in images, it's in numbers, it's in scenes, it's everywhere around us. Right now, we have 55 plus people attending this. That's data point for this webinar. We have people, maybe, hardly 5% people have turned their video on. That's okay. So that's another data point. I think another 5% have just their pictures on. That's another data point. So it's just, you just need to put on your data lens and just make use of your analytical brain, and just, look around data with an analytical mindset, nothing else. So we are living in a digital era where there's information overload and message saturation, and we have TV, we have podcasts, we have social media, we have webinars, just like the one right now. So in all of this, how do we tell our stories? So the question then comes again, that why does telling stories through data matter? So everybody's doing it, right? You have been told you should be doing it. It's the next big thing. And it turns out that, yes, you should be doing storytelling with data, but it's not hard if you know the structure. And the structure is not that, again, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but it's actually not that hard. It actually breaks down to just being a super communicator. So the format or the structure is, you have to use both the left side and the right side of your brain. And they're just three elements of a story. That is the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. So I repeat, it is the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. Every story ever told from the beginning of time, they follow this structure. It's really that simple. So yeah, it's the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. So how many of you, like all of you can see this image, right? Can you just give me a reaction if you know the story in Urdu, English, किसी भी ज़ुबान में? It's an Aesop's fable, और उर्दू में हम कहते थे प्यासा कौवा, अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं हम द थर्स्टी क्रो. ये स्टोरी हमने कितनी दफा सुनी हुई है, सब नहीं सुनी हुई बचपन में, राइट? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर लाइक बोर्न इन 90s? गिव मी अ लाइक द वन विद, जो 90s में पैदा हुए हैं वो अपना वो दे एलओएल वाला रिएक्शन, और जो 2000 के बाद पैदा हुए हैं थम्स अप. Very good. So I love it. We have a combination of millennials, Gen Z. So I'm sure this story is like everyone has read it. So इस story में होता क्या है? Basically, it's a simple story that, imagine a hot sunny day, a crow tired and thirsty from flying all day finally spots a pitcher with some water inside. The crow thinks, great, I can finally drink. But when it pecks at the water, it realizes it's too low to reach. The crow feels frustrated, it's thirsty, and the water is just out of reach. But instead of giving up, the crow gets an idea. It starts picking up small pebbles and dropping them into the pitcher one by one. And with each pebble, the water, level rises a little. And after many pebbles, the water is finally high enough for the crow to drink. So the crow drinks that, feeling refreshed and proud of its clever thinking. So this is a simple story, but it has the three main components of storytelling. So you see there was this conflict. initially, that the crow is stuck with no way to access the water, and the thirst is growing worse. And then the resolution was that instead of giving up, the crow actually started thinking creatively, and he started dropping small pebbles into the pitcher, raising the water level, and then eventually the water rises for the crow to drink. So that was the resolution, and the main character and the main person who was defining the story was the crow itself, because the crow is symbolizing the persistence, the resourcefulness. It's a simple everyday creature, but it uses its intellect to solve a very challenging problem. Again, the problem solving element, the skill that is needed everywhere. So what's the lesson? The story shows that sometimes the solution to the problem is not really obvious, but like the crow, we can all solve tough problems with creativity, patience, and persistence. So this is a basic story, and you probably have now for the first time broken it down into a framework which says conflict resolution and character, or a situation. Now, if I tell you, can you guys just imagine this story in a quantitative way? Have you ever thought like that? That if you want to tell the same story in a quantitative way. So I'll go first. None of you have the mic on. So if I have to rewrite the story in a quantitative way, but now listen to it with some numbers attached and just see how the difference it makes. It might not sound as cool as it was earlier, but I'm just giving you an example so you guys think along the analytical approaches as well. So it's a hot sunny day, and a tired, thirsty crow is flying around looking for something to drink. Finally, it spots a pitcher with some water in it. Yes, the crow thinks, I can finally quench my thirst. When it tries to drink, it realizes the water is too low, about 10 centimeters below the rim, and the crow's beak is only 5 centimeters long. Frustrated but not ready to give up, the crow has an idea. Again, in the first paragraph, I added 2 data points, that the pitcher is like 10 centimeters low below the rim, and the crow's beak is like 5 centimeters long. Why am I telling you all these data points? Because when, as an analyst and as a marketer, I need to be adding all these data points so that I can then convert them into key business decisions. So the crow starts picking up small pebbles and dropping them into the pitcher one by one. Each pebble raises the water level by 1 centimeter. After dropping around 15 pebbles, the water is finally high enough for the crow to drink. It takes about 12 minutes to drop all the pebbles, flying back and forth 10 times. In total, the crow burns about 2 calories during all that flying and pebble dropping. So feeling clever, the crow finally gets a drink and feels refreshed. So the difference between the two stories was basically the other one, the one that I just narrated right now. It just had few data points, and it made you maybe realize or imagine the situation much more clearer, so that you can derive any actionable insight out of it. So it's like the whole purpose of this workshop, of this webinar, or my goal of this session is to make you actually think analytically as well, and then convert those analytical insights into key business decisions. So this was the Aesop's fable, and this was the framework. This lands to the first framework. This is the framework that I was just talking about. I just gave you the example first. So this framework is called the conflict resolution character framework, and this is built around a narrative. The definition is written here, so that the narrative was there, the conflict was there, the resolution was there, and the character was there. The key strength for this framework is always the person who is executing it. So the character, the crow, in that case, us, the data analysts, the marketers. So it's a very story-driven framework. It focuses on who was involved, what the problem was, what they faced, and how they overcame it. Okay, G. Okay, now let's do another little fun exercise. So this is a problem statement. I want a volunteer. Can somebody read that out for me? Can somebody unmute and read that out for me?
I
No
do that.
volunteers?
I do that.
Okay.
25% of the people rise before 6 a.m. Basically, that's you, Hafsa, to
Yes.
start their day and get ahead of the curve.
Yep. Thank you. And anybody else who wants to read this one?
Can I?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, somebody else wants to go, they can.
Yeah. Did you know that 25% of people wake up before 6 a.m. to get a head start on their day?
Perfect. That was Aisha, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think somebody's raising their hand. Guys, I will take the questions towards the end. Or maybe he just wanted to read that out. But yeah, thank you, Kibri, and thank you, Aisha. So पहला जो sentence है, that's just a problem statement, और जो नीचे वाला sentence है, that's just a question. But both these sentences, they do have data, they do have some data points. 25% of people rise before 6 a.m. Time भी बताया हुआ है. Reason भी दिया हुआ है. Why do they wake up? Because they want to jumpstart their day and get ahead of the curve. Or if you convert it into a question, did you know that 25% of people wake up before 6 a.m. to get a head start on their day? So, the numbers are there, everything is there. But even after that, like, do you guys still feel any connection to these two problem statement or a question? I don't. And the reason is basically because this problem statement itself, it's not really doing anything for me. It doesn't really address why these, people wake up. It's like missing the motivation part and the personal context that drives their behavior. It is giving me data, but it is not identifying distinct groups. So another thing that I want you to think about is whenever you see data, whenever you come across data in your daily lives, even in newspapers, even in online journals or wherever, on social media, wherever, on TV, always question it. भाई किसकी बात कर रहे हैं, कौन से 25% लोग, क्या एज ग्रुप था, डेटा सेट क्या था, औरतें थी, आदमी थे, सिंगल थे, मैरिड थे, एज ग्रुप क्या था, 20 to 40 year olds थे, 40 to 60 year olds थे, प्रोफेशनल्स थे, मिलेनियल्स थे, जेन-जी थे, बूमर्स थे, कौन थे. सो ये भी एक बात है कि in today's world, people just throw in numbers just to sound cool or just to sound more, literate, that we are data literate. So they just keep throwing in numbers without any context, without any information. So that's why these two sentences, they might hold some attention for a while. They might, like, if somebody who's like totally new to this, they will be like, oh wow, somebody started their presentation with this percentage or that question. But these two statements, again, they're not doing anything for me. So that leads to the next framework, which is called the how we got here framework. So in this framework, we always start with a starting point, which we introduce like the initial situation or baseline data. Then we focus on the journey. Journey is the part where we transform, where we realize something is happening, where we discover something. And the current state is like, okay, we have reached to this conclusion. What do we do with it? So now, if I go into a boardroom or if I give a presentation, I'll probably start off something like the same data, but I will present it like this. When I first started researching morning habits, I'm telling you a story. I found that 25% of people wake up before 6 a.m. That's me. I come in that 25%. I discovered that 61% of moms, now I'm giving you context. I'm evoking that emotion in you. I'm telling you who are these people who wake up early. So 61% moms, over 55% millennials, and 56% mid to senior career professionals had different motivations to waking up early. Moms did it to manage their busy routines. It's mayhem in the morning. Millennials did it for productivity, and professionals did it to prep for their meetings. And now I'm taking you to the current state. I'm telling you what's the state right now. The last line is, today, these groups are consistently more productive, with early risers seeing a 30% higher success rate in achieving their goals. Now I'm telling you the impact of this data as well. So you guys now understand the whole framework in a much more cohesive and coherent manner, instead of me just throwing in a number and get you guys intimidated. So that's another thing that data analysts and marketers, really good analysts and really good marketers do. They always come in with a story, with some context, with the background, with the specifications of the data set, because that just makes the life of the audience pretty easy. And the people who are listening to you, it just makes more sense. Now it makes sense that, yeah, 61% moms wake up early, or millennials wake up early, things like that. So this was just another way of showing you how to present the data with these two frameworks. So we have the conflict resolution and the character framework, and then we have the how we got here framework. There are tons of names for these frameworks. Sometimes people call it bridge, BABR, framework. They're different names, but the core, the gist is basically these three things. There are always three components to each framework. So this one has a starting point, a journey, and then the current state. Okay. Now coming to, I just want to give you some examples of, the businesses that I see around in US. Like, I have these US examples. I'm sure you guys can also relate to the Pakistani examples as well. But yeah, So Walmart is like a big store here. It's like, everyday store. I think, Kibriya, what would be the equivalent of Walmart in Pakistan at the moment?
It would be
Um,
Imtiaz.
इम्तियाज, चलो इम्तियाज लगा लेते हैं, इम्तियाज. So basically वॉलमार्ट का जो स्ट्रॉबेरी पॉप टार्ट मैंने पहली एग्जांपल लिखी है, ये क्या एग्जांपल, आई वांटेड टू गिव यू द कॉन्टेक्स्ट फॉर इट. आई थॉट इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल. इसमें क्या हुआ कि देयर एनालिटिक्स, देयर टीम फिगर्ड आउट, देयर डेटा रिवील्ड कि जो पॉप टार्ट है उनकी जो सेल्स होती हैं, दे स्पाइक ड्यूरिंग द हरिकेन्स. अब हरिकेन्स में लोग पता नहीं यहाँ पर टिश्यू रोल और पानी और पता नहीं क्या क्या खरीद रहे होते हैं, बट एज पर द डेटा it revealed that pop tart sales they spike up. So what they did, इन्होंने किस तरह का अपना एक business decision improve किया, they pre-stocked that treat, and that just led them to higher sales during storms. So that was just one example of Walmart. Then there's another study and research, and there's tons of data backing it, कि जो bears होती है और जो diaper होता है वो क्यों सेल करता है आपस में. उसकी वजह ये है कि a lot of dads, when they are buying diapers, they also buy beer. पाकिस्तान में maybe it could be, I don't know, cigarettes. क्या लेंगे जब अगर कोई खरीदने जा रहे हो, fathers, new fathers. Any fathers here? Anybody who has kids? Nobody has kids. Everybody is like a single person here. That's a very sad lot. Nobody. We have. I have, mashallah, 2 kids. So I have. They claim जी मेरा 2 साल का बेटा भी सो रहा है और मैं चुप करके यहाँ पर presentation दे रही हूँ. So I have a 2-year-old son and I have a 6-year-old daughter, mashallah. So I have 2 kids, so I know मुझे क्या खरीदना होता है जब मैं जा रही होती हूँ. So this is another example that why why this key analytic insight converted into a strategic business decision. So they started placing the beer next to the diaper aisle, and it just increased the sale of both the items. Then you all are pretty familiar with Netflix and its binge watching patterns. So Netflix, it's famous for using data to discover the fan preferences. And this is a trivia question. All of you, I'm sure, watch Netflix. या कोई तो season, कोई series, कुछ तो देखी होगी. So can you name one season that was particularly based on fan preferences, and it became a massive hit based on audience insights? I'll give you 3 options. Option number 1, Gossip Girl. Option number 2, अभी जो आजकल चल रहा है शालिनी पासी वाला Bollywood Lives, and the third is House of Cards. So if you know the answer, drop it in the chat. Let's see how fast you can type. So the question again was that, Netflix is famous for using data to discover fan preferences, and they particularly produced a show based on that data, and that show in itself became a super duper hit. And no more, the time's up for that trivia question. So that show was House of Cards. So this is once again, this is one of another example of how data can shape up the business decisions, or can shape up, what we need to buy, what we need to see, where we need to go, things like that. Then Amazon, I'm sure all of you are familiar with it. It's a great marketplace. So they also, their data showed common product pairings. Like when people are buying maybe earphones, they are buying the cover as well. So that's how their Amazon bought together feature came together, and that also boosted sales. And then my all-time favorite is McDonald's all-day breakfast. So McDonald's used their sales data to figure out that people want to have the breakfast items, like the menu items, beyond the breakfast hours. And that's how they keep it all-day breakfast menu. So these are some of the things, these are some of the examples that I thought that they're really relevant and really interesting, and how these analytic insights, obviously their teams figured out the data first. They cleaned that up. There was the whole process behind it, but I'm just telling you, it all came down to something as simple as discovering that insight and actually applying that insight into the process, and then coming up with a better solution to drive more sales. So another important thing regarding data analytics, data analysis, all these things, is until unless you're not able to apply that knowledge, or until unless you're not able to translate that, no matter how big of a champion I am in data analytics, if I'm not able to communicate that insight to you, to this marketing team, to the sales team, I'm not doing my job right. I think this is one thing that it's very common in the dev and engineering teams. They might be the smartest people, they might be the sharpest minds, but if they're not able to, work with other people, if they're not able to communicate, that's something, that happens a lot. I see that in dev engineering and marketing teams. So there's always a feud going on, especially with all these online systems. And the last example is of Airbnb. So what did Airbnb do? So basically they figured out that their listings with like high quality photos, they were doing 2.5x better than the listings with like regular or weird photos. So that's why they started this whole professional photography program, and they started getting more bookings, and the hosts started getting more earnings. So these were just like some relevant examples. Okay, I'll get to this sheet later. So this is something let me just go into it right now. Again, so as far as my particular experience is concerned, so like I said earlier in the beginning, so I work with various startups across different verticals. It could be fintech, health tech, Web3, and I consult them in terms of analytics and growth. So I have like a strategic position that I'm also working with the marketing team and also working with the analytics team. So I was working for a startup, a $200 million startup. And when I took over, and that's why, Kibriya, this might be interesting to you. When I took over, so I took over the webinar program, interestingly. So I grew the webinar program from 100 to 1,000 plus registrations. That's why I was like, asking you, oh, do I get a separate link? So webinar is like something very close to my heart. That was my first thing that I worked on like 5-6 years ago. And I also took over the online community management. So my loyalties are with Zoom webinars, but it's okay. Google Meet is doing a pretty decent job as well. So when I first took over, their webinars had low attendance and low engagement. They were getting around 70 to 100 registrations or leads per session, and that conversion to paying customers was even less. That was like less than 2%. So I just realized that we are not making the most of this opportunities. The webinars were lacking interaction, and it didn't speak to a specific audience. So what I did was, as per the data insights, I figured out that out of the 100 people, only 50 are showing up. Out of the 50, only maybe 10 people are raising their hands. Out of the 10 people, only 2 people are asking questions. So the numbers were really disappointing. So what I did was, based on this data insights, I just shook things up. I added live polls, I added real-time QA, I made the whole format pretty engaging. After that, I even made all the follow-up emails very personalized, and I started targeting attendees based on what they interacted with. For example, you guys would have the data now that out of these 60 folks, how many of them were actually reacting, how many times they were reacting, how many of you have actually asked the questions, what were you interested in, things like that. So I was putting in the effort and making the whole post-webinar follow-up even more targeted and personalized. But it was just not about the webinars. I also started engaging with the online community in real time. So when the webinar was happening, I connected it with LinkedIn Live, with Webinar Jam, a couple of other places. The webinar was going live on their social platforms as well. So they had a community, but it was a bit stagnant. People were not really engaging or interacting. So then I introduced like the weekly AMA sessions, like even the pre-hype before the webinar, because webinars are famous to be boring. They are known to be like long format, pretty boring. But again, that's debatable. Log ek ghante ka podcast bhi to sun lete hain. So then I also started a member spotlight series, things like that. So over time, I noticed a shift. The webinar conversion rate tripled, jumping from 2 to 6%. Both the engagement in the online community and the webinar, it just soared really high. 80% of the attendees were now interacting through live polls. So and the leads grew from 100 to almost like 500, 600 per session. So I'm just sharing this whole example just to tell you that this is just like one example of a fact sheet, that this registration thing, this is like pre-registration, like pre-webinar, what happens. I have given all these numbers, and this is just like a sample set. It's not like the exact numbers. This is like a Google image. So I'm just giving you that. I just broke it down that what was happening pre-registration, during the webinar, post-webinar. So all these analytics, they really helped. And I reached to that decision. Like I just didn't come in and join that startup and said, hey, your webinar program sucks. I just want to redo it. I didn't do that. I gave them numbers that, as per the data of the last 6 months or as per the data of the last 12 months, you have executed X number of webinars with Y number of impact, no result at all, and this is what I'm proposing. And then, obviously you always have some target goals, some target numbers, and then you move forward. So again, another way, if you are recommending, this is like, I could say, I'm just giving you, I just don't want like using this word, but for the lack of better word, it's like a hack. अगर आप अपनी डेली कम्युनिकेशन में भी अगर किसी को रीजनिंग के साथ बताते हैं ना कि दिस इज समथिंग नॉट वर्किंग एंड दिस इज व्हाट आई प्रपोज, पीपल लाइक टू लिसन टू यू मोर देन इंस्टेड ऑफ जस्ट अटैकिंग देम. If you even if you go up to your mom and say that, hey, आपने खाना नहीं अच्छा बनाया, she will like shut up, ठीक है ना, जो भी वो कहेंगी. अगर उनको आप प्यार से, तमीज से उनसे बात करके कि भाई अम्मी आपने कल बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाया था, ठीक है, लेकिन मैं चाहता हूँ कि टींडे गोश्त ना बने, अब कुछ और बन जाए. Things like that. So I'm just saying, even if you apply this knowledge in your daily lives, in your relationships, it's all about, I'm a big believer of super communication. It's like, har waqt na, we are like, a lot of times people just do not figure out the frequency जिस पे वो बंदा बात कर रहा होता है. There are 3 types of conversations going on all the time. There's practical conversation, there's an emotional conversation, there's social conversation. The social conversations right now that I'm doing right with you guys, right? I'm doing a combination of 3 conversations. I'm giving you practical examples of what I do. Then I'm trying to cultivate an emotional conversation with you guys. I'm giving you my personal references. अपने बच्चों के बारे में बता रही हूँ, मैं कहाँ रहती हूँ, मैं कैसे बात कर रही हूँ, मैं किधर बात कर रही हूँ, कितने बजे हैं इस time, things like that. And also, giving you the social, like, all 3 aspects. So this is something very important. Whenever you're talking to somebody, anybody in any relation, personal, professional, make sure that what kind of conversation you're driving, and give them facts, give them reasoning, give them a good story that they can't refuse. And this comes to, I think, my second last slide. So like I said, I kept it super engaging. I didn't want to get into the academics or the details of it. So data does not create movements, stories do. What does this really mean? So basically, a lot of times we think that data is happening only on the outside. What does that mean? It just means we think, oh, data is something that happens in newspapers. We read titles, we read headlines, or data is something that is just happening in, engineering classes, things like that. But no, that's not true. We have so much data stored within our head. We take snapshot of our experiences and observations, and we then store them into our heads as scenes. Sometimes these scenes we are proud of, and sometimes they are, some embarrassing and shameful moments. But whether we like it or not, we are keeping tabs of our wins and losses. Even after this session, some of you will say we thoroughly enjoyed the session. Some of you will say, yaar, bas sham thi, Sunday kuch aur kar lete, cricket khel leta, main kahin chali jati, things like that. So when I was in grade 3, I participated in my school play, but I just stood there like a tree. That was my entire role. So after 10 minutes, I got nervous. And at that moment, I just felt that time has slowed down and this play is turning into 120 minutes long. So I just mumbled up, thank you, and I ran off stage. Like, I just went backstage. So I'm sure nobody remembers that story, but I remember it. In my mind, I have that data stored. So the number of times I have frozen on stage, just once. But as I grew up, I had more data stored. So the number of times I had a low understanding in learning new complex stuff, maybe 25 times. The number of time my marketing tests failed, 37. The number of cringe-worthy moments in my life, maybe 100 plus. The number of times I have stayed up late to finish my work, maybe 1,500 times. Besides, based on this data, you guys can say that maybe I'm a slow learner, maybe I'm a mediocre marketer, or maybe I'm an awkward person. But I could also tell a different story with this data. I can say that the number of failures mean that I'm brave. I'm always willing to take the risk. I'm always willing to try something new. I'm always willing to come out of my comfort zone. Coming out of my comfort zone right now, the number of late nights could mean that I'm a very dedicated parent who would do anything for their kids. So data story, like I said, it's just not for scientists or activists or engineers or CS majors. You just cannot choose not to analyze a situation, just like you cannot choose to unsee. We are always analyzing everything regardless of what our background is. And the most important data story of all is the story that we tell ourselves. depending on how we frame the story, it leads us to different directions, different paths. So tell yourself a negative story right now, and you will see your life, crumbling down. Tell yourself a story of hope, and you will be looking forward to the future. So data itself is not negative, it's not positive, it's the interpretation that makes it so. So data alone cannot change anything. It's the story that shapes the data. So thank you, and I'm right on time, 5:40. So we have 20 minutes for Q&A. Yes, I'll just grab some water and let me know, Kibriya, what's the way forward. You guys want to ask
Yeah,
questions? I'm
so
here.
thank you so much. It was so interesting. I loved it. So, guys, if you have any questions, please write questions in the chat. And yeah, Afsar is here to answer your questions. So please, let's be ताकि ये सब players आने वाले remember के we write it down in the comment section, and we will address all your questions one by one.
Yeah, and there is no such thing as a bad question or stupid question. If I don't know the
Yeah.
answer, I'll get back to you. But hopefully, जितना मैं बोल सकती हूँ, बता सकती हूँ, I would love to share what I know. So don't be intimidated. Just drop in the question. G Fayaz Kareem is waving. Thank you so much, Fayaz, for liking the session. That's what I'm translating it that to. That's the business insight I took.
So there's this one question that we have in the chat by Shoaib. She wants to know, what do you suggest about transitioning from electrical engineering degree postgrad in data science in terms of Pakistan and US both in regards to the job market?
Sorry, say that again, Kibriya.
And Daniel wants to ask, what do
Can
you
I see the
suggest about
question somewhere? Like, can I see the chat?
it's the chat? आप Google Meet खोलेंगे
Yeah,
तो
one
वहाँ पे आपको chat नजर आ जाएगा. I know you're used to Zoom, so it's a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit new.
No, I'm just trying to. I do see. In-call messages? Yes. Oh, it says. Oh, ये तो मैंने देखा ही नहीं इतना खूबसूरत in-call messages. Excellent webinar, excellent discussion, very informative. Thank you, guys. अच्छा जी. So question था. अच्छा जिसका question है वो copy paste कर दो. मुझे अब काशिफ कमर साहब का question सबसे ऊपर नजर आ रहा है. I would love to answer that, but
This
electrical engineering वाला सवाल था ना?
Yeah, I have pasted it in the chat.
Okay.
I hope it's still trending. She wants to know. That what do you suggest about transitioning from electrical engineering degree to a postgrad in data science in terms of Pakistan and US both?
Again, whoever asked that question, that's a very loaded question. It's a very subjective question. Like कोई दुनिया की ताकत ऐसी नहीं है जो आपको ये बताएगी कि आप ये काम छोड़ के एक्ट्रेस बन जाओ या ये काम छोड़ के आप हॉलीवुड ज्वाइन कर लो. It's basically your own thing, your own inner voice. I know it sounds very cliche. You'll be surprised. I have studied journalism. I am a media studies student, but I am in tech for the last 10 years. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि मुझे पसंद नहीं है. I love reading newspapers. अभी तक I think I'm probably one of those people जो अभी भी न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स या LA टाइम्स उठा लेती हूँ सुबह. कोई भी नहीं खरीदता यहाँ पर, but I do pick it up. So आप पढ़ते क्या हो, उसको अप्लाई कैसे करते हो, किस फील्ड में करते हो, दैट्स अप टू यू. इफ यू थिंक आपने इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ी है और आपने इसी में इसको परस्यू करना है. एक और चीज आपने काफी सुनी होगी, आजकल हर बंदा इसके बारे में बात करता है और उसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. Yes, you have to really niche down. When you start out, you try many things. So my advice to you, if I am giving advice to my younger self, like I'm in my 30s now, you guys probably in your 20s. So I would say, like, try everything and then figure out what you like the best. And then, pursue that one. Because 29, 28 tak bhi mere khayal se, I'm not trying to gatekeep it or limit it to a certain age, but timing is important. I'm a big believer of timing. तो ये मुझे लगता है ये बड़ी शैलो सी एडवाइस होती है कि कुछ भी कर लो, कभी भी कर लो. नहीं, there are phases to do things. This decade, if you are from 21 to 29, try out, stop saying no to everything. Try out different things and then figure out what interests you the most. And then probably by the time you are entering in another decade, you should be able to niche down and specialize in that one core skill.
Well, that was a great answer. So I also believe that we need to test multiple things before niching it down.
Yeah, because a lot of times, Kibriya, just want to point that out, because ab jo generation aa rahi hai na, who are like 21, 22, 23, 2003, मतलब उनको शायद पता है आजकल ओवर शेयरिंग ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन होगी भी है, मुझे लगता है ओवर अवेयरनेस होगी भी है. पीपल जस्ट check out a reel on Instagram and say, oh, I am going to say no to everything, it's just damaging my mental health. No, that's not true. You can't say no to everything at 21 years old. When I was 21, I think मैं इतना अब मैं सोचती हूँ कि यार like I'm like 10 years later that मैं कितना कुछ कर रही थी. I was doing US embassy में भी internship कर रही थी, British Council के साथ भी काम कर रही थी, अपने कॉलेज की भी हेड गर्ल थी, 10,000 चीजें कर रही थी. I was doing tons of things. I did not say no to everything. So probably my advice is do not say no when you're younger, but yeah, start saying no to things when your priorities shift, when you are like at a stage or you can say no जब आपके पास एक skill आ चुका होता है.
Perfect. That was a great answer. So now getting on to the next question by Kashif Kama. You want to know how to get clients for your data science services like startups and retail businesses.
How to pitch, he said.
To get the clients for your data science services.
अच्छा श्योर. सो बेसिकली आई थिंक कल जो मैं सुन रही थी वेबिनार, आप लोग का वेबिनार था, उसमें उन्होंने बताया था कि तरीके ऑन हाउ टू मूव टू यूएस. तो उसमें एक एजुकेशनल राउट था, करेक्ट मी इफ आई रॉन्ग, एक एंटरप्रेन्योरल राउट था, और आई थिंक 2 अदर राउट्स थे, राइट?
Yeah.
जो मेरा राउट था, I got married to a really super genius guy. so I just like I'm joking, but still that's the truth. So I got married to a brilliant mind, and he was in and then we moved to US. But yeah, besides the fun part, काशिफ साहब जो भी आपने भी पूछा ना कि what's the way to get clients or get work from startups, it's pretty much I think जो पाकिस्तान में भी शायद हो, but it's like this is something universal. You first नीश डाउन कि आप क्या सेल कर रहे हो. लाइक एक लाइन में आप बताओ कि अच्छा जी आप डेटा एनालिटिक्स में भी क्या चीज कर रहे हो. आर यू वर्किंग फॉर मार्केटिंग एनालिटिक्स, आर यू स्पेशलाइजिंग इन सम सॉर्ट ऑफ XYZ स्किल. उसके बाद like networking and reaching out and collaboration, nothing else. It's just like tapping into the network, and by networking I do not mean getting clingy the moment you send a request to somebody on LinkedIn, uske 30 seconds baad hi please give me a job. No, not like that. You need to see what this person is doing. You need to study those profiles. So I am a big believer of networking too, but not the kind of networking that I'm going to 10 different events. I don't do that anymore. But what I do is I do strategic networking. I literally do the research on what kind of startups I will be applying to. I check out कि इनको funding कब मिली है, अभी recent funding मिली है, कौन founder है, कौन co-founder है, कितने बेरिया में based हैं, कितने, because I am in Southern California where Hollywood is. So like जब लोग कैलिफोर्निया सुनते हैं लोग समझते हैं बस बे एरिया या सैन फ्रांसिस्को. So California itself इतना बड़ा है, इसमें like there is San Diego, there is LA County, there's Orange County, there is like Northern California, Southern California, things like that. So मैं आपको अपने demographics की dynamics बता रही हूँ. So probably if you wanna suppose आपने टेक्सास में किसी को reach out करना है, पहले टेक्सास की demographics समझें. आप टेक्सास में ऑस्टिन में किसी को reach out कर रहे हैं, डैलस में कर रहे हैं, कि ह्यूस्टन में कर रहे हैं, किसको कर रहे हैं, डोमेन क्या है, क्या वो हेल्थ टेक के स्टार्टअप्स हैं, क्या फिनटेक के स्टार्टअप्स हैं, उनकी नीड क्या है. उनको डेटा से कोई गर्ज नहीं है. We as analysts, as consultants, I go after their problems. So what is the problem? Jaise this, I'll give you a very practical example. I usually email these startup founders saying that, hey, I went to your website, I checked XYZ thing, and I was just looking at your website, और आप लोग के एनालिटिक्स के इवेंट्स ही नहीं फायर हुए. And they get surprised, कहते हैं हमारे पास इतनी फंडिंग सब पर हमारे एनालिटिक्स के इवेंट्स नहीं फायर हुए. So that's my way of getting their attention. And then they probably reply to me, and then I book my discovery call. So it's basically keep trying and be very intentional with your research, be very intentional with your effort, be very intentional with your networking. Networking is just not sending 1000 friends requests and then just asking people to like your post. It's really getting to the skin of the game and exactly क्या मसला है उस बंदे का और मैं उस मसले को कैसे खत्म कर सकता हूँ. And people will give you money for that. People always give you money for the value you bring. That's it. अगर मैं वैल्यू नहीं दे पाऊंगी, उसके अलावा मुझे किसी चीज का मतलब ये सारी बातें झूठ है कि ओ वो अच्छा इंसान है, बुरा इंसान है, खूबसूरत इंसान है, ये सारी चीजें सेकेंडरी है. अगर प्राइमरी जो मेरा काम है ना, वो आई हैव टू गिव वैल्यू टू द कंपनी और टू द स्टार्टअप और टू द पर्सन दैट हु इज हायरिंग मी. एंड मुझे लगता है कि like since मेरा सारा काम ही स्टार्टअप्स के साथ है, and I'm married to an amazing entrepreneur, and I've seen him working hard day and night. But even then I feel कि जो लोग शुरू में जॉब्स कर रहे हैं या करते हैं, आई एम नॉट सजेस्टिंग कौन सा राउट बेटर है, but I'm just telling you that this is an ideal situation. You are getting paid to learn, you are getting paid to experiment, you are getting paid to do all of these things on somebody else's money. So make the most out of it. Learn, read, network. Thank you. Kibriya, next question.
Thank you so much, Hafsa, for this. I just want to add something to it, that just make sure that you're working in the right direction in a way that you niche down your service in particularly. So a simple formula that I tell to some of the participants is, first of all, pick down your general niche, let's say you're in data analytics, and then pick a sub niche in it, let's say data visualizations or something like that. And then to pick a core niche, the best way is that you pick out the tools that you are well versed in. For example, let's say you do dashboards on Power BI, you do dashboards on Excel, you do dashboards on Looker Studio. So this is key. After that, you need to make sure that you have some portfolio to showcase and to back the things that you are going to say when you pitch to any clients. Go to freelance platforms, see what you can do. Focus on problem solving, pick out the problem that you can solve, start pitching, and as Hafsa said, don't say no to anything. Okay, at this point at least, if you're under that. So getting to the next question, we have, okay. I have a strong back. Acha. Okay. Oh, a lot of questions. Okay. Acha. Is the data analytics job still doing good in the market, or is it going down? Also, what other skills should a data person learn to stay relevant? And I'll combine another question into it because these are particularly the same. Where to start with analytical communication, and secondly, how to recognize if we already are doing it and capitalize on it.
Okay. पहला सवाल था, Kibriya, can you just break it down? What was the first part of the question?
How is the market for the data analytics
हाँ
jobs?
जी, अच्छा ये तो बहुत ही एक अगेन बड़ी स्वीपिंग स्टेटमेंट है कि बिटकॉइन कैसा कर रहा है आजकल, तो ये उस तरह का सवाल है। आज अच्छा कर रहा है, आजकल तो बहुत खुश हैं जो लोग जिनके पास बिटकॉइन है, 90,000 तक को टच कर रहा है। So yeah, again, like I said, these are like, I think the first thing you should be asking yourself is the right kind of questions. So data analytics will stay. These things will stay. Or like I said in the start of my session, that ये Web3, AI, data analytics, ये सब चीजें evolve कर रही है with time, and probably in the last 1 decade, 10 साल पहले जो शायद हम टूल्स यूज कर रहे थे वो भी हम टूल्स यूज नहीं कर रहे, लाइक आई हैव शिफ्टेड टू मिक्स पैनल, एम्पलीट्यूड, थिंग्स लाइक दैट। सो जो टूल्स है ना वो तो आते जाते रहेंगे, 5 साल बाद कोई और नए टूल्स आ जाएंगे, बट जो कोर है वो वहीं का वहीं रहेगा। जो एनालिटिकल स्किल्स हैं वो आपको चाहिए होंगे, बेशक आप क्लास टीचर हो, बेशक आप हाउसवाइफ हो, बेशक आप बोर्ड में प्रेजेंट कर रही हो, जो भी हो। सो आई फर्मली बिलीव कि आपको अपने स्किल्स इंप्रूव करने चाहिए। जस्ट लाइक आई टोल्ड यू द थर्स्टी क्रो स्टोरी, ठीक है, कुछ लोग इसको कहेंगे बस प्यासा कौवा, बस एवी मरियल सा कौवा था, प्यासा था, पी लिया पानी, खत्म। एक ही स्टोरी को लोग 10 तरीकों से बता सकते हैं। कोई दूसरा इंसान उसको बहुत एनालिटिकल माइंड से अप्रोच करेगा, कोई इंसान उसको बड़ी डिस्क्रिप्टिव लैंग्वेज में एक्सप्लेन करेगा, कोई इंसान। So you need to figure out कि भाई, I firmly believe, because this is something that I have learned over time as well, because like I said that my background was in media studies, but I never studied like the technical side when I started off. Like honestly, if I tell you, शुरू में like seriously बिल्कुल पहले की बात बता रही हूँ, like मुझे when I was the first person to get hired for Plan 9. I was the first marketing manager. Dr. Saif ने मुझे hire किया था, and I was the first person. I was one of the founding members. Then we did Plan 9, Plan X, everything. When he interviewed me, I did not even know and he said, have you worked with incubators? Because I was fresh out of college and that was my first job. And I was like, incubation? Yes, I know, it's in the hospital for babies. That's all I knew. But then he saw the spark in me. He saw that I can learn things. So मैंने literally अपने आप को, like, जहाँ मैं पहले कोई और किसी और तरह की न्यूज़ सब्सक्राइब करती थी, then I started taking in डेटा न्यूज, टेक न्यूज, स्टार्टअप वर्ल्ड न्यूज, वाई कॉम्बिनेटर क्या है, टेक क्रंच क्या है, फास्ट कंपनी क्या है, मैं उस सब चीजों को पढ़ने लग गई। पढ़ाई का कोई नेमोल बदल नहीं है, और देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट। द मोर यू रीड, the more, और आजकल like you guys, like I think 2024 we are talking about, there is LinkedIn learning courses, there is Coursera, अगेन मेरा बड़ा अनकन्वेंशनल सा ओपिनियन है, बट आई जस्ट फील कि अब तो आपको एक ट्रेडिशनल राउट पे भी, अगेन मैं उसको डिस्करेज नहीं कर रही, बट कोई, व्हाई डू यू नीड परमिशन फॉर एनीथिंग? गूगल अप, स्टार्ट लर्निंग, एक दफा घुसोगे खुद ही चीजें समझ आने लग जाएंगी। नीचे वो बैठ के जो यूट्यूब ने भी इतना डेटा बनाया है ना, एनालिटिक्स, वो आपको रेकमेंड करने लग जाएगा कि दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू लाइक डूइंग, तो व्हाई डोंट यू वॉच दिस वीडियो नेक्स्ट, व्हाई डोंट यू वॉच दिस वीडियो नेक्स्ट. So there's a famous saying, when the student is ready the master appears. So I just believe that data analytics will stay relevant as long as you know how to apply those skills. That's it. It's with every field, even with medicine. Like AI, पिछले जब 2-4 साल पहले जब चैट जीपीटी ने सारी दुनिया हिलाई है, हर बंदा यहाँ पर तड़प रहा है कि oh AI will take our jobs, AI will do this. No, just use it as a tool to optimize your work. That's it. एक मतलब आज से 3-4 साल पहले एक टूल था, अब कोई मेरे ख्याल से मार्केट में 10,000 टूल्स आ चुके हुए हैं. इवन वॉइस रिकॉर्डिंग का टूल आ गया है. इवन के मे बी some of you have already put that on, कि ट्रांसक्राइब कर दो, जो मैं बात कर रही हूँ वो सारी ट्रांसक्रिप्शन आ जाए. There are tons of tools out there. These tools will continue to come forward in the market, but that does not mean कि आपकी कोई वैल्यू कम हो जाएगी. So अगेन इट्स योर फील्ड, यू नीड टू फिगर आउट कि मैं इसमें इसको परस्यू करना चाहती हूँ, और अगर करना चाहती हूँ तो किस तरह करना चाहती हूँ, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. एंड व्हाट वाज द सेकंड पार्ट? लाइक अगर कोई रिकरिंग क्वेश्चंस है हम उनको, हाँ, आई थिंक दिस वाज मोर अबाउट कि कौन से स्किल्स यूज करने चाहिए, समथिंग अलोंग दोज लाइंस. सो अगेन आप जिस भी स्टेज ऑफ करियर में हो, अर्ली में हो, बिगिनर लेवल पे हो, मिड पे हो, सीनियर पे हो, यू नीड टू फिगर दैट आउट कि यार अब मुझे 8 साल हो गए काम करते हुए, तो प्रॉब्ली अब मुझे ये चीज सीखनी चाहिए, या मुझे 5 साल हो गए काम करते हुए तो मुझे ये चीज सीखनी चाहिए. मैं पर्सनली व्हाट आई डू, एक मैंने अपना माइंड से शिफ्ट किया कि आई ट्राई टू टाई the impact of I'm creating with a number. For example, that's very important because in the West, that's what I've learned in the last 8 years since I moved to US. Pakistan में I was always like, कोई कह भी देता था ना कि यार बहुत अच्छा काम किया, मतलब बड़ी जेनेरिक सी चीजें होती थी, बहुत अच्छा काम किया, मैं कहती थी जी जी थी, थैंक यू, बहुत अच्छा काम किया, दैट्स इट. मतलब मैं क्वांटिटेटिवली इतना नहीं सोचती थी. आई विल बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई हैव लर्नड माई सेल्फ. नाउ in the West, they talk in numbers. They want to know exactly how many startups you have worked with, what was the impact, how many dashboards did you create, what business decisions were based on your analytic insights. So I try to think quantitatively more. So yeah, that's one thing I would say. It really depends on the level of the career you are in, and that's how you will improve your skill. 5 years later, आपको शायद कुछ और skills चाहिए हो. 8 years later, आपको कुछ और skills चाहिए हो. So like right now, I'm in like मुझे 8-9 साल हो गए हुए हैं, तो I am like at a different journey right now. So I can't recommend something very basic to you. So probably things are changing. You can check out courses. Google का देख लें आप, LinkedIn Learning पे जाके देख लें आप, Coursera पे देख लें आप, एक search की मार है. So my rule is that if you can Google the question, do not ask a mentor or a LinkedIn person. अच्छा जी.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true, Afsam. And I do agree with the part where you said, okay, with all that's available to us in 2024, we do not need to necessarily take a traditional route to learning. Just like you, I myself am a theater graduate, but I'm working as a marketer with tech startups and multiple other things. So yes, that never stops. And this is actually where atomcamp comes in. So we have and we have done these things where we help people transition into a different career, or as well as if they want to just upskill themselves in the current roles, and they want to target the promotion and everything. That's what we do. So yeah, if any of you guys actually want to get into data science and AI, we have a data science and AI bootcamp coming up. This is a 4-month online bootcamp which covers both the technical and the soft skills, and also helps you in finding the right jobs and telling you the techniques that are needed for it. Yeah, so that was it. I'll be sharing the link in the comment as well. And getting to the next question now. So Hafsa, this question is very interesting. I found it very interesting. We're using AI almost everywhere, right? I am a marketer. We use AI for multiple other things. There are low code, no code tools that Pepsi uses to streamline their operations. The Coca-Cola uses it. Small, very small tools. Tailored tools. If I were to say, very tailored tools. How can but data analysts, data storytellers can leverage AI to make their storytelling more impactful, cohesive, or coherent?
Why not? It just saves me tons of time. Like, for example, I work with Mixpanel and Amplitude a lot for the insights, because for currently, like, I'm working for a company which has an app. It's not available in Pakistan, but it's like an app which you can imagine. It's like Canva plus Hallmark. So they are like little
Mhm.
notes. So I'm just giving you an example that the tool that I currently use to drive those insights, like I work with Looker Studio and Mixpanel, but they're like with these AI tools, maybe, what I'm trying to say just saves me tons of time. So how I look at AI tool and how I use them, it's basically when I'm like stuck at some situation, and when I just need to, instead of talking to somebody, like, I just, dump my question in the tool, and then, come up with an answer. So I just feel that these AI tools can be super beneficial. It really depends on what you want to use. For example, if you're a content writer, maybe you are used to working with WordTune. If you are a data analyst, maybe you used to work with Mixpanel, things like that. And again, like I said, the word data analyst might sound a bit intimidating, or people just say that, oh, it's you are an analyst or something. Like, all of us are analysts, all, like, regardless of आपका कोई भी शोबा हो. I think मैंने किसी का सवाल पढ़ा कि they are an Urdu editor. So आप भी सारा दिन बैठ के, या खातून या आदमी, जो भी, मुझे नाम नहीं पता, आप लोग एनालाइज ही कर रहे हो, तो स्टोरीज एनालाइज कर रहे होते हैं, राइट? इवन इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग में भी बैठ के आपने हर सिचुएशन को एनालाइज करके कोई फैसला करना होता है, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. एक और सवाल है, लाइक, आई जस्ट वांटेड टू रीड दैट आउट. इट सेज, हाउ कैन मार्केटिंग बी इम्प्रूव्ड, हाउ डू आई इम्प्रूव माई मार्केटिंग स्किल्स. ये पूछा है मोहम्मद शुएब खान मरवत ने. लॉन्ग नेम, आई लाइक इट. अच्छा मोहम्मद साहब, मैं एक आपको थोड़ा सा फीडबैक दूं. आप किसी से, आपने ये बहुत बहुत ओपन एंडेड सवाल पूछा है, लाइक ये बहुत बड़ा सवाल है. How can marketing be improved? I'm giving you another tip. Be very specific in your ask. Like, किस चीज की मार्केटिंग मेरे भाई? कौन सी मार्केटिंग? कोक, पेप्सी, किसकी? डाइट कोक की, ग्राहम कुकीज की? मैं किस चीज की मार्केटिंग की इम्प्रूव करें? Like, so if you are specific with your question, you will get a specific answer. And if you are very
Yeah.
generic in your question, people will, like, usually the speakers will dodge that question. They will say, yaar, kya main apna opinion hi dena hai na? At the end of the day, it's just an opinion. So it's a good question, but if you just add, how can marketing be improved in XYZ domain, and how do I improve my marketing skills doing XYZ thing, that would give me more direction how to answer that question better. ठीक है. अच्छा, नुज़रत थी ये, जिन्होंने कहा जी, share more about your transition into tech from journalism. Basically, I just studied journalism, media studies, but that's it. I didn't never did any like traditional journalism job. My first job was Plan 9. So that's it. Like, there was no, it was just like an accidental or by luck. I got the first job as that, but I didn't really, but yeah, I feel that I have a knack for media. I know what kind of content works, because I work with content for startups as well. So yeah, I work with digital content a lot. But yeah, but कुछ चीजें आपको pay off करती हैं. So yeah, communication is one of my strongest pillars, I would say. These things are like all interrelated, and it's a continuous learning. You just can't say कि oh, मैंने 2014 के बाद पढ़ना छोड़ दिया, बस मैं graduate हो गया, खुदा हाफिज. It's never like that. Is there anything else that is? I think I can take one more question, then we should wrap up. वरना ये बातें तो चलती रहेंगी, और हमारे सेशन.
So what are Bilal Munir has this interesting question. What are SME, small medium enterprises, meaning to in context to data solutions in the B2B and B2C arena? There is North America. I'm not sure I got this question, but
I can't. What are SMEs learning to in context to data solutions in the B2B and B2C arena there in North America? Leaning into context to data solutions. Yeah, if you could just like Bilal, I feel like I would love to answer this question, but मुझे इस तरह थोड़ा सा इसको, can you give me an example to it? Like, which SME are you talking about? And because B2B, B2C arena is huge. So if you can just and guys, sorry, I know I'm also running short on time. मेरा Sunday है, और मेरे बच्चों के उठने से पहले मुझे खत्म करना है. But I would love to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. So please feel free to. That's my professional, platform. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I do discovery calls. I do one-on-one consulting calls as well. But again, if you really want to be very specific, I would appreciate if you can keep your questions short. tell me the context, what you're trying to do, and I would love to help you out. But yeah, so I just want to put that out there. So if you want to, connect with me one-on-one, you can do that after the session. And I think Kibria, the atomcamp folks, we might be planning more sessions. This was the first session, so this was very beginner level. I kept it very practical and storytelling like. बट अगर आपने इसकी nitty gritty डिटेल्स में जाना है, कौन सा टूल्स यूज होना है, क्या चीज यूज होनी है, things like that, वो that becomes pretty intense and that requires more time. So I would love to do that, but we'll see what we have on the calendar. We can, divide it into sessions or things like that. And I would love to know what kind of things you want to learn about. And a lot of times I feel that technical skills mein to hamare, mashallah, Pakistani, we are champions. It's the soft skills that we lack at. And soft skills is something just jo hum continuously learn kar rahe hain. Like I whenever I work with different people with different backgrounds, like Indians, like other non-Pakistani backgrounds, I just feel कि वो काम से ज़्यादा अपने काम के बारे में बताना बहुत अच्छे से जानते हैं. ठीक है, काम तो करते हैं, like I think 20% is work and 80% is telling about what they have done. So that's something I've picked up a lot from here. Like, it's just not, I think we Pakistanis, we are naturally, जो हम South Asian लोग हैं ना, हमें बताया होता है, हमारे DNA में होता है यार, ज़्यादा शोखी नहीं मारनी, बस नीचे नीचे ही रहो, stay humble. लेकिन इधर वेस्ट में कोई humility का चक्कर नहीं है. They are like manifest, flaunt it, tell me what you have got, tell me what you worked on. So मुझे अभी भी like to this day, like मैं इतना hesitate करती हूँ in telling what I've done, the kind of people that I've worked with, because I'm like यार मैं बात करूँ, मैं छोड़ो, I don't want to be a name dropper. But this is something that you guys need to work on as well, that how to strategically drop the name and not sound too show off. So
that was an amazing picture, buddy. Yeah, thank you, Hafsa, thank you so much. I think we are 5 minutes above the time. Thank you so much for taking out the time, Hafsa. It was an amazing session. I loved every bit of it, and hoping to
thank you. Before you guys leave, can I make a request?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kibriya. I didn't want to cut you, but आपका ना मुझे आवाज लैग कर रही है, मुझे आपकी आवाज 2 मिनट बाद आ रही है. आप मेरा शुक्रिया अदा कर रहे थे, राइट? अच्छा, सो अगर मेरी छोटी सी रिक्वेस्ट है, अगर पीपल आर नॉट इन लाइक इन फॉर इट, तो कोई मसला नहीं है. मैं सिर्फ एक स्क्रीनशॉट लेना चाहती हूँ विद ऑल द वीडियोस ऑन. अब मुझे पता है आप सब बहुत खूबसूरत हैं, कोई शाहरुख खान है तो कोई करीना कपूर है, तो अगर 1 सेकंड के लिए सब वीडियो ऑन कर लें, आई वुड लव टू टेक अ पिक्चर. किब्रिया, फिर आप ना वो कर लेना, स्क्रीनशॉट ले लेना. चलें जी,
डन
2 मिनट के लिए सब वीडियो
जो लोग कर सकते हैं,
सिर्फ 5 सेकंड के लिए, जो कंफर्टेबल है. लाइक इट्स नॉट लाइक, वाह मोहम्मद आरिफ साहब, थैंक यू सो मच. उन्होंने 1 सेकंड नहीं लगाया, उन्होंने वीडियो ऑन कर लिया है. बाकी सब ने वीडियो ऑन कर लिया, अगर कर सकते हैं. So can you see everyone? Kibriya, just take the screenshot and then just share that with me. I would really appreciate that.
I can just see 2 people, myself and a couple of more.
That's okay. Yeah. I don't wanna press them. If you guys are not comfortable, that's fine. I just wanted to see जिन्होंने मेरी बात सुनी है वो लोग हैं कौन. Like जो picture होती है ना वो just tells you who you are.
Photo.
Yeah, so okay. That's fine. I work with engineers all the time और मेरी पिछले 8 सालों से कॉल बगैर पिक्चर की होती है. तो मुझे तो खुद भूल गया लोगों से बात करना. अहमद इश्तियाक ने गट्स दिखाए हैं, उन्होंने अपनी वीडियो ऑन कर ली है. थैंक यू अहमद. माय ब्रदर्स नेम इज अहमद टू. अच्छा जी, चले, दैट्स गुड इनफ. So thank you so much. It's अब सुबह के 6:08 हो गए. अब मैं जाती हूँ नाश्ता करने. So have fun guys, have a great weekend and have a productive week ahead. Bye bye. Khuda Hafiz.
Bye. Thank you, Hafsa. Thank you, everyone. Allah Hafiz.